coming.
Would you like to come up here, please?
Absolutely.
It's on.
Okay, welcome to those that are joined us from home this evening for a work session of the City Council. Tonight, we're going to talk about something that's near and dear to everybody's heart in the city as we get our first view of the city manager's proposed budget for 2020 and get a brief on that. We've asked Jennifer Parrish from the schools to attend as well, just so that we get the school perspective if anybody's got any questions about it. So with that, without further ado, Randy?
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, members of council, appreciate the opportunity to speak with you tonight about the city manager's proposed budget. Copies of this budget were provided to you in hard copy last week, and it is also available at the library, in our finance office, and available online for anyone that would like to see it. I will provide to you, at the conclusion of this work session, a hard copy of everything you'll see up here this evening. I brought copies just in case we got a technology fail, but if it's all right with you, I'll distribute them afterwards since things seem to be working. So, the budget, as you know, is for the upcoming fiscal year 20. I guess this constitutes my 10th budget here in Poquoson, and some things are pretty much standard for us, at least for the last several years. We always start by saying, what is our current foundation? Well, our current foundation is our fiscal situation is stable. We're meeting or exceeding our guidelines in conformance with all of our policies. Currently, our enterprise funds are sound. I'll talk about the change that's coming soon with solid waste, but right now, all of our funds are sound. And through the mid-year process and in working with you, we were able to make some adjustments and make additional deposits in our Revenue Stabilization Fund, our CIP fund for smaller projects. Last month, you actually approved the tentative allocation of those monies, and to our OPEB trust, which is Post-Retirement Benefit Trust. So my point in saying that is that the current fiscal year is meeting or exceeding our expectations, and we've been able to make some strategic investments in some areas that shore up and continue to shore up our bond rating and our overall financial health, which then sets the stage for everything that comes after it. So one of the things to just highlight for you and for the community, the proposed budget, the property tax rates are unchanged. There was some confusion between the difference between a requested budget and a proposed budget, also known as a recommended budget. The proposed budget is what would the tax rate consequences be if everything that was requested by every agency was fully funded. It is there to provide information to the public and to ultimately provide a framework for your decision, but the recommendation is for no change in terms of the tax rates. The budget does include a real property reassessment average of 2.63%. And to save you the trouble of asking me the question, what does that mean to the average homeowner? Graham provided this information for me, and forgive me for reading it to you, but the average assessed home value in Poquoson is $322,800, and using the average home value and the average reassessment, the impact to that average home is a little less than $100 a year, $97 per year. So depending upon what your actual assessment is, which may be higher or lower than the average or your individual's property value, obviously that'll change. But as I discussed, and as council is aware, this budget has an increase in it relating to the solid waste fund, and it goes directly towards the increased cost of recycling that we've been talking about now for the last 9 months or so. There is also a proposed decrease in the sewer monthly fee to help in part to offset that and the details of that are in the budget. But essentially, it's up 10 and down 4 for a net of 6. And for your information and for the public's 1 cent on our real estate rate, it's just a little bit less than $160,000. and 1 cent on our personal property rate is a little more than 11,000 per penny. The budget before you today is constrained like it always is in Poquoson to stay within our existing revenue streams, and in this particular case, based on the current tax rates. In compliance with our adopted financial policies, which is nothing new for our budget, and in any time that we have an ongoing expense, it is supported by ongoing revenue. And in addition, the step that we took in the current year to eliminate from an adopted budget standpoint use of general fund balance to support the budget, that continues in this budget. There is one proposed recommendation of a use in the solid waste fund, which is a decision point that council will ultimately need to make with regard to the replacement of the second solid waste truck. But the general fund balance habit that we had gotten into because of the recession to fund such things as equipment replacement, we continue to be on the correct side of that long-term policy. The budget this year is a little different than some of the past. It is shaped by the recently updated comprehensive plan, the constrained capital improvement plan, which you all approved within the last 12 months, and also is fully informed by your strategic budget discussion of December. And you'll see that the limited amount of new initiatives in the budget really track to those two identified strategic objectives that council identified in December. We've built the budget, at least my introductory parts of it, around the 4 or 5 core areas that we talked about with you in December. Really, if you take the budget apart, almost everything falls in one of these 5 areas: public education, public safety, quality of life, quality of service, or fiscal stability. And my budget transmittal to you is organized in that way. I will summarize each one of those areas very briefly. Public education is first. There is a proposed increase, again, at the level tax rates of local support to education of $211,000. You will recall that in the current fiscal year, because of some changes in circumstance, the school board did not request any additional increase in local support. So just wanted to remind everyone of that. This fully funds the school board's request. It helps to fund, is the primary funder of a 3% minimum pay increase for all school employees. And it also provides the funding necessary to staff the 2 vestibules that will be installed this coming summer at the primary school and at the high school, which is a follow-on recommendation from your ad hoc school safety committee of last year. In public safety, our focus is on several things. Not all of them jump out as large budgetary numbers in the pre-planning, but the public safety feasibility study is something that you have allocated money for, and we are moving towards, with the idea that we will have back to you for decision some go, no-go planning by the end of this calendar year, and be able to tell you what size building we would need to identify efficiencies of potential co-location of police, fire admin, and emergency services, along with site size and general site characteristics, and a working budget for those things. The budget also makes an additional investment towards Medic 21 replacement. You recently set aside some money for that. The amount of money that is proposed in this budget, along with the money that the volunteers have raised up to now, gets us pretty close to that, with some months to go. So it will help us to replace that unit, which unfortunately, as our 4th unit has been down more than it's been up over the last year or so. Shipwreck Island, we talked about that recently. We're working on that, and we will bring that design back to you along with cost estimates this summer. We have got a contribution to follow on to the one that you made last month to the Public Safety Equipment Replacement Fund, and actually that tags along with replacement of 21, if Medic 21. If it's necessary for that, that's the first priority. If it's not, it'll just move to the next priority piece. And then we continue to replace public safety equipment when we can, such as police cars when we have vacancies or other things that happen in the course of implementing a budget. When we can do those smaller types of equipment replacement, we do it that way. And this year we've been able to replace 2 police cars that way. That's the good news. The bad news is we have a police vacancy that made that happen. All right, quality of life is the council's second strategic initiative is really a major focus of the staff, both this calendar year and next calendar year. You all asked us to bring that to a point of at least the initial plan conclusion. By the end of that 2-year period, it continues to be something that we are spending a lot of time on. I mentioned it here, and I'll mention it in other places as well, because some of the things that would typically be identified as quality of life, including recreation, water access, sidewalks, and things like that, are chapters or sub-chapters within that plan. So while there are not significant new investments proposed in this budget, know that we're working on it in preparation for having that done in 2 years, which is really that guide between the short-term budget and the long-term comprehensive plan. It's kind of the how do you get there from here plan, and we are working towards it diligently. I would note to you and to the public that we have under design right now the Little Florida connector project, sidewalk connector project, which will connect the middle school complex with the high school / primary school complex going through the municipal park area. So that's something that is ongoing now and is funded. And just a reminder that one of the outgrowths of the Wythe Creek widening project, as you're going towards Hampton, we're seeing a lot of activity lately from BDOT, will be bike and pedestrian accommodations across that portion of Wythe Creek, across the bridge and into Hampton. So just wanted to highlight that not everything requires a new investment. Some things are just multiple year investments that take a while to get done, and those are important. With regard to quality of services, the council establishes its #1 strategic priority, investments, competitive pay for public employees. And so what this budget does in this area is it focuses the new monies that we did have available in that area, in your #1 strategic initiative area. So the budget fully pays for, with ongoing money, the mid-year adjustments that council made the December timeframe, which we knew we'd have to replace it with the full year cost and also ongoing costs. So that it was a significant draw on the budget. In addition to that is a 2% cost of living increase for all city employees effective July the 1st. These two elements, along with the $211,000, or a significant portion of it, going to schools, represent the most significant investments in the budget, both individually and collectively, in your #1 identified strategic area. I've talked about the master infrastructure plan before, but just a reminder as it relates to this, in addition to looking at parks, recreation, water access, there are elements of it that will look at our current and future public facilities, the more normal facilities, like this one, for example, and like the libraries and the public work compound. So that's underway as well. And as I referenced a couple slides ago, this budget does include the replacement of the second of 2 of our debris trucks. These are the debris trucks you see on Saturday at our convenience site, the ones that are picking up bulk items at people's homes. This particular truck is the newer of the 2 for replacement, and it's 16 years old. And we're hopeful that you will approve that, as well as your recent approval to approve the one that was even older and in less good shape than this one. This should set us up to continue to provide the level of service that people are expecting. This one is really where the City Council started, and it has always been a key element of how the City Council does budgeting in Poquoson. I just point out, not for you, but for the public, that in addition to our fiscal stability being our strong foundation, we had our bond rating reconfirmed this past year. So we went under the microscope of the folks that rate municipal debt in New York City again and had our AAA bond rating reconfirmed. We have, as I referenced before, continued to meet our fund balance requirements for the general fund. We have continued and most recently made an additional deposit to our stability reserve, and we continue to make deposits into our OPEB trust. These are the kinds of things the AAA localities do, and for good reason. And it is our strong foundation that's allowed us to do some of the other things we've done. The mid-year moves that this council made, particularly advancing the portion of the compensation adjustment by 6 months, was made possible by the overall fiscal foundation that we had. So it's nice to be able to accelerate things like that, and that's how I view it. We accelerated something we were hoping and planning to do. Budget, real quick at a glance. General fund budget, won't read it all to you, but you can see the amount of the general fund budget, and that's the requested budget. So that's everything that everybody asked for. And you see what the tax rate would be if we funded that. You see what the city manager's proposed budget is. It's slightly less than $30 million, and that would require an unchanged real estate rate at 114. Couple of key dates to bring to your attention, the public's attention. We have the public hearing on the budget and the proposed tax rate is April the 22nd at 7 o'clock or soon thereafter, as it can be heard. Prior to that, we anticipate having one of our at least 2 annual joint meetings with the school board, as well as a general budget work session to bring you up to date on anything that may have changed, both positive or negative, as it relates to this budget once we put it to bed as terms of the recommended budget. And for example, today we've already gotten the first couple of changes from sort of kind of beyond our control, but not beyond our ability to have to deal with. And the schedule adoption is May 13th. Additional work sessions will be scheduled as council may require them. We will definitely have a work session on the 22nd. We will have a work session on the 13th if necessary, and then with reasonable notice, we can schedule additional work sessions. I open with this, but I'll close with it. If anyone would like to see a copy of the budget, hard copies are available in the library, city manager's office, also in the finance office, which is next door, and available online. And with that, I'll stop talking, and we'll be glad to answer any initial questions you have, or to receive any initial feedback that you may wish to provide.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah. Just curious, Randy, I see that we were able to reduce the sewer fees to help take care of costs. I was wondering if there's something significant we did that allowed us to reduce the sewer fees.
What we did is, and that's an enterprise fund. It runs like a business. We have operational requirements, we have debt requirements, and with the changes in the HRSD program and what they're doing relating to the consent order and what we're doing over time, we were able to lessen some of our anticipated capital costs, and that's what brought it down.
Okay, thank you.
But it still fully funds our anticipated budget for several years. We're not short-cheating ourselves here to do it. And we have, I think we have amended that fee at least one other time since I've been here. In that case, it was up. We don't do this every year, but it seemed like a real good year to do this as an initial move as we work towards the sewer portion of the master infrastructure plan.
Okay, thank you.
Jennifer, I guess I got one question. I just want to make sure I understand where the state is. The state's budget for schools is finalized? So there's no more risk there?
Yes, they actually just finished it up when they called them back to session last
Okay.
week, I believe, so.
Very good. And we're funding what I consider the $211,000. That's part of the raises. That's obviously not enough money. So there must be some type of match there.
Correct. We do receive some funding from the state to fund the raises, but it only funds 67% of our positions, and 62% of those 67% of our positions. And the other thing that I made sure people understand is that the state funding for the raises also does not cover the months of July and August moving into next year. So again, that's falling on the locality to help us so that we can actually give them a raise for a full year. So I said this when I did my presentation. I say it to you again. We really appreciate the support you continue to provide, because we simply could not provide these raises without your support, because we're calling on you because the state just doesn't fully fund them.
We're used to that. So, all right. Any other questions? Just want to make sure it's clear. And so just one point of clarification, because Randy hit on it and he said it exactly right. So there's two figures in there, so nobody's confused at home this evening. One is if he had put everything in the budget that he had been requested to put in the budget, there would have been a tax rate increase
Of 2 cents.
of 2 cents. That is not what he is proposing. What he is proposing to us is a revenue or tax rate neutral budget that makes all these without a tax increase in the rate.
Yes, sir.
Okay? I just want to make sure that's clear to everybody.
Quick comment, that's probably due to just good city management.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's no other questions, we can end this this work session.
Thank you.
Thanks.